If you've walked through Fed Square, you'd know our big screen and our cobblestone plaza, or visited the galleries, museums, restaurants and bars. But down on the Yarra River level, away from the hustle and bustle of Flinders Street, sits a special part of Melbourne's history. This is the story of the Prince's Walk Vaults. To understand the significance of the vaults, we must first look at its namesake, Prince's Bridge. It's known to be one of the most important 19th century bridges in Australia. This current bridge, which is so iconic to Melbourne, is actually the third iteration of its kind. For the first, we have to go all the way back to 1845, when it was constructed. It underwent reconstruction twice before reopening in 1888. The vaults themselves were constructed for the City of Melbourne over the next 2 years, in 1889 and 1890, and were a major component in the bridge's surrounds. Interestingly, the designer is still officially unknown, but many believe it to be A.W. Mackenzie, whose signature appears on the early drawings. At the time, construction around the vaults included the rail connection of Prince's Bridge and Flinders Street railway stations, and the realignment of Yarra Bank Road, now known as Batman Avenue. The realigned road was carried up and over the vaults to intersect with St Kilda Road. The road, which no longer exists, is now known to Fed Square as River Terrace, a pedestrian thoroughfare you can walk today that connects Prince's Bridge and St Kilda Road with Fed Square and Birrarung Ma. The vaults have major heritage significance in both their construction and relationship to Melbourne. The 20 barrel cells, which face the river, were built out of brick and are faced in roughed Malmesbury bluestone, with 10 supporting piers capped in Harcourt granite. The cast iron street lamps were designed in a similar fashion to those we see along Prince's Bridge. It's understood that their design likely provided the inspiration for the street lamps in most Australian city streets in the mid-1920s. So next time you walk along the bridge or the Paris end of Collins Street, be on the lookout for one of the few surviving lamps. Back in the 1890s, the vaults were rented by cruise companies and boat builders who used the spaces for trade stations and refreshment rooms. The prime position of the riverbank proved to be fruitful for business and was their main landing point for much of Melbourne's history. In later decades, various shops had also opened within the vaults. However, by the 1970s and 1980s, a number of the vaults had become disused, and the area had begun to get a reputation for being somewhat of a seedy underbelly. Fed Square opened in 2002 with the intention that the Prince's Walk vaults would be redeveloped to bring new life into this underutilised pocket of the city, keeping its character, heritage and original design in mind. The project was completed just before the 2006 Melbourne Commonwealth Games and was incredibly well received. In 2008, it was awarded the inaugural Planning Minister's Heritage Award and the Premier's Design Award for Commercial Architecture. Today, the vaults are affectionately known as Fed Wharf and serve as a colourful reflection of Melbourne's vibrant history. The distinct architecture also provides a striking backdrop to the Yarra River and creates a precinct with a strong historical character. The vaults are proudly listed on the Victorian Heritage Register and are described by the Heritage Council of Victoria as aesthetically significant. A self-contained space divorced from the tumult of the Flinders Street station and Swanston Street intersection above. They are an unusual and significant element of Melbourne's varied urban environment. We very much agree. Having a beautiful and unusual slice of history right on our doorstep certainly makes the Fed Square precinct anything but square.